Kevin and Lance trudged through the twilight mist, their feet dragging with the weight of their quest. They'd faced beasts, sirens and spirits of wind, but now stood before the final challenge, the Faerie Queen's lair. Deep in the enchanted wood, the air buzzed with the tension of time itself, stretching and twisting as if waiting to snap. The wizard Auld McInnes McBeginis had sent them on this mad venture to gather the 7 sacred herbs, promising them the power of the ancients once they succeeded. "You'll be invincible, lads, once you have the 7 herbs," he'd promised. "But beware, time itself will test you." Now with 6 herbs in their sack and only the Shoban cap mushrooms left, they faced Charlotte Fia Dach, Queen of the Fairies, Keeper of Time and Ruler of the Labyrinth. The mushrooms glowed faintly on her crown like the rings of Saturn made of pure magic. "Welcome, mortals," Nayuchk purred, her voice the slow tick-tock of an eternal clock. "Ye seek the Sioban caps, aye? But before ye enter my labyrinth, partake of my ritual. A tea brewed with the mushrooms ye crave for those who wish to challenge time." She held out a silver goblet, steaming with Sioban cap tea. Kevin, always the reckless one, grabbed it first, slurping it back as if it were a pint at the pub. "Yeah, madman," Lance hissed, but he took his own drink after a hesitant sniff, nae wanting to show fear. The tea slid down their throats, and for a moment everything froze. Time stopped, leaving them weightless, suspended between seconds. Then the world jerked back into motion, and the labyrinth's doors creaked open, inviting them to their doom. "The rules are simple," she replied with a smirk. "If you survive my labyrinth, you'll have the mushrooms you need. Fail, and you'll be swallowed by time itself. Good luck, lads." Without another word, the Queen vanished, her laughter echoing as Kevin and Lance stepped into the labyrinth. From the first step, everything was chaos. Walls a shimmering mist, staircases going nowhere, and time whirling like a wild wind around them. Seconds stretched into years, then snapped back into moments. Lance stumbled, feeling decades older, while Kevin charged ahead, oblivious to the shifting ages around him. "Och, this is shite, Lance," Kevin yelled. "Where's the bloody exit?" But Lance for once had his wits about him. He clutched the raven talisman, feeling its cold weight in his hand. The spectral bird appeared, guiding them through the corridors, flapping its wings as it dodged traps of time. "That bird knows something we don't," Lance muttered, following close behind. "But we'll owe it, mark my words." The first trial struck soon enough. The air grew heavy, slowing them to a crawl as the Faerie Queen's voice echoed again. "Patience, or perish. Time rewards those who wait." Kevin, as you might expect, lost his rag straight away. "I'm nae waiting, we've got to move." He stomped ahead, but every step only aged him more, lines etching across his face. Lance, on the other hand, sank to the floor, realising what the Queen meant. "It's a trick, Kevin. Time's a bastard, but if you fight it, it'll tear ye apart." Only when Kevin finally stopped fighting did the labyrinth shift again, the walls opening to a new path. The fox talisman glowed faintly in his pocket, a reminder that the cleverest path wasn't always the fastest. Deeper they went, each step more perilous than the last. Time jumped between centuries. One moment they stood in ancient stone halls, the next a future of gleaming metal stretched before them. Each twist in the labyrinth was another mind-bending trap. Lance, fearing they'd be stuck forever, used the raven's last gift, guiding them past an impossible knot of time that would have had them lost for centuries. But they knew what was coming. The Queen herself waited at the heart, the Sioban caps perched atop her gleaming head like the spoils of war. "You made it," she said, her voice slow and ominous. "But the final trial remains. Can ye outwit time itself?" Without warning, she snapped her fingers. Kevin and Lance felt their bodies changing, growing older, bones creaking, hair turning grey. "Shite! She's aged us!" Kevin howled, clutching his chest like his heart might give out. Lance, thinking fast for once, grabbed the fox talisman. "We cannae beat time, but we can outsmart it." The fox spirit flared to life, twisting the labyrinth around them, weaving a path of escape. Time slowed, then reversed, the years melting off their faces as they darted past the Queen, grabbing the Seoban caps. The Faerie Queen's laughter turned dark as they fled, her voice echoing. Ye may have escaped, but you owe more than you ken. Time always collects its debts. When they stumbled back to McInnes McBeguine's hut, dirty and exhausted, they threw the bag of herbs at his feet. There's your bloody mushrooms, Kevin spat. We've got all 7. Now guy us the power of the ancients like you promised. The wizard looked at them, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Oh, you daft bastards. You think power comes in the form of some grand spell? Some mighty force you can wield? Kevin's face dropped. Aye, that's what you bloody said. Nay, you've misunderstood. McInnes chuckled. The true power of the ancients isn't something you can hold. It's what you've learned along the way. You faced fire, tricked fairies, outwitted time itself. You've grown stronger, wiser. That's your power now. That's what the ancients knew. Survival, cleverness and endurance. The challenges made you capable. You're now the fools you were when you started. Lance, slack-jawed, blinked. So, there's nae magic? No superpower? Nothing you can see. The wizard shrugged. But think on it. You beat the Faerie Queen. You outlasted the trials of time. Now many could say that. You've gained wisdom, even if it came with a few more grey hairs. Kevin stared at him, rage bubbling up. So we went through hell and what we get is bloody wisdom, you old bastard. But deep down, they knew the truth. They were different, smarter, tougher. The quest had changed them, even if the Tway Egypt still had the brains of a gnat. They'd survived trials no one else could have faced, but just as they were starting to feel proud of themselves, a cold breeze rustled through the trees. Oh, what now? Kevin muttered, looking around like a nervous hen. Suddenly the raven appeared, swooping down in front of Lance, its black feathers shimmering like midnight stars. Its eyes gleamed with that same knowing look it had carried in the Labyrinth. From the other side, the fox slipped out of the shadows, all sly grins and sharp eyes, circling around Kevin like it was about to pounce. Oh great, what do they want now? Kevin groaned, remembering the price they'd been warned about. The raven perched on Lance's shoulder, its dark voice echoing in his mind. The time has come to collect, mortal. You owe me a debt, and debts must be paid. The fox grinned up at Kevin, baring its sharp wee teeth. Aye, and you didn't think you'd outwit me and walk free, did ye? The fox always gets its due. Kevin threw his hands up, already fed up with the whole magical shite they'd been dealing with for days. Ah, just take whatever you want. What is it this time? Years off our lives? Our firstborn? For the love of... But the raven interrupted, its wings flapping like the finality of a tolling bell. Now, we didn't want your life. What we want is to team up. Kevin blinked, caught off guard for once. Wait, what? Lance, with the raven still perched on his shoulder, frowned. Aye, what do you mean? Team up. We're done with all that quest and bollocks. The fox chuckled, its voice slipping into Kevin's ear like a sly whisper. Oh, ye think you're done? No, lads, this was only the beginning. You've passed our tests and now we join you. From here on, I'll be your familiar, Kevin, guiding ye out of the chaos ye cause and stirring a bit more when it suits me. The raven ruffled its feathers, nodding solemnly. And I'll stay by your side, Lance. Wisdom, wit, and the keen sight to spot trouble before it comes. You've earned my loyalty, but ken this, there'll always be a price. We've tied our fates together now. Kevin, nay quite comprehending, scratched his baldy hide. So, let me get this straight. You're saying we didn't owe you nothing, but you'll stick with us for... ever? The fox snickered, circling Kevin's legs. Forever's a long time, lad, but aye, we're your familiars now. We'll help you, challenge you, and maybe even save your arse a time or two. Lance, ever the thinker, when he bothered to think, looked at the raven. So what, you'll just follow us around? like a pet. The raven's beady eyes glinted. Nay, like a pet, you dafty. More like a partner. I'll be your guide, your wit when you need it most. And you'll need it, trust me. Kevin, still confused but slightly chuffed at the thought of having a clever fox by his side, crossed his arms. Right, well, I guess that's not so bad. Could be worse, eh, Lance? Lance, trying to look serious, nodded slowly. Aye. But you ken they're up to something. Familiars never do anything for free. The fox chuckled darkly. Oh, you'll find out in time, Kevin. You'll find out. And so, with their new familiars in tow, Kevin and Lance trudged back to their quiet wee village, nay quite realising the madness that awaited them. The raven watched from Lance's shoulder, eyes flickering with foresight, while the fox trotted alongside Kevin, its tail swishing as if it was already plotting the next bit of chaos they'd stumble into. Sure, they'd survived the Faerie Queen, outwitted time and gathered the sacred herbs, but if they thought that was the end of their adventures, they were bigger fools than anyone could have guessed. With a mischievous fox and a clever raven by their sides, trouble would follow them like a shadow. And to be honest, Kevin was already thinking about how much fun it'd be to stir up some new mayhem with a fox at his side. Lance, meanwhile, just hoped the raven would keep him out of too much trouble. But deep down, he knew that was a lost cause. And so, their adventures continued, no as just two Egypts on a quest, but as two Egypts with the trickiest, sharpest familiars this side of the fairy realm. Aye, they'd survived. They'd gained the power of the ancients, but it came at a cost. And the biggest lesson of all? Sometimes the prize is nie what ye expect. Until next time, you daft ball bags, be sure you like and subscribe now, or you don't even ken what might happen. Slanchi.